what was your question?
What questions do you get asked most often?
From people on the road.
From people on the road in your DMs. How do people slide in?
Bunch of different ways. People usually just don't know what to ask, so they ask for generic advice. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna type a whole paragraph for you of, what to do. I get a lot of DMs from women, about
women drivers or just in general?
Women who want to get into the trucking industry. And they always ask, what my experience is, how safe it is. And, I have to be careful because I've only been in it for 7-8 months now. So I'm still pretty new.
Right.
But you drive every day. So I've definitely had a lot of experiences within those 8 months or so. But and this goes back to my parents. My parents didn't raise me to be afraid. They raised me to be cautious, be safe, be aware. But it was never like, you should be afraid of men or you should be afraid of walking down an alley. Like, I never was taught that. I know some people are taught that. And so they kind of walk through life with that kind of fear. So even when I did van life, I was getting those questions like, aren't you, you're a single female being alone in a van where you park at rest areas and at the beach. Like, aren't you afraid? And the answer is always like, no, I probably should be. And people are like, carry pepper spray, Danae. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably go.
I should get a knife.
I'm too trusting.
Yeah. Yes, that's my blessing and curse is I have so much faith in humanity. I just think people are incredible.
Good. You won't once they wrong you, but for now, that's great.
And here's the thing. You would think that, but I've actually had a pretty intense past with like people taking advantage of me, hurting me, that kind of stuff. And I'm still like, but at the core, people are so good.
People mean well.
But they're so sweet.
Yeah, they're so sweet. So I kind of, mindset is so important when you go into things like these. A lot of women have bad experiences with men in general. And so being in a male-dominated industry, there's a lot of people who will go in with, like, their walls up. Like, they're ready to fight somebody. They're expecting for a man to be disrespectful to them, or they're expecting for somebody to talk down to them or flirt with them, And it's happened.
Sure.
A lot to me.
Especially if you smile, they're like, oh, she's flirting.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Oh my gosh, she likes me.
Yeah.
And so, I've kind of done, I don't know, I've since I've been a tomboy, I kind of tend to go towards male-dominated interests, I guess. Sure. So I'm used to being around a lot of men. So I know how to handle myself with men who are disrespectful or, and that's, I think, the biggest thing is know that if you do go into an industry like this, you will either learn what to do, there's going to be that weird learning curve where you're like, I don't know how to respond to what that guy just said to me, but once you've got it, like, I know how to shut men down who are being disrespectful, but I always approach every interaction as like, they have good intent, and I feel like, what's the guy who does Top Gun?
Tom Cruise?
Our Top Gun, I'm
yeah.
guessing.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. That's the man.
Joe.
Oh, Philpott?
Yeah.
He doesn't do it anymore.
He just went back to, yeah.
But when she was training.
When I was training, the best compliment I can get is like, I don't know what he said specifically, but he's like, oh, I'm not worried about you in this industry. Like, the first couple of conversations we've had, he's like, you can handle yourself. You're going to be good. And I was like, thank you. Like, because, people get offended really quickly. Yeah. And, like, men are men. Like, yes, there's some things we should be like.
There's nothing that comes out of their mouth with any substance. They just ignore it.
But somehow you still need us.
Oh, my gosh. Exactly.
We let you think that.
Oh, so you just got married, so clearly you need us. Oh, I got to pause and think about that one.
He got you there. Got you there. But, if you just treat everybody like all the guys are like my brothers. That's how I kind of approach things. So if they say something stupid or disrespectful, I'm like, that was weird. Like, why'd you say that? But I'm not like, oh my God, like I'm going, how dare you say that? Like,
I'm going to call my driver manager.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to report you. You know, I'm not that kind of person. It's just like, hey, maybe, you know, that wasn't.
Maybe you
that
should
wasn't
tone
cool.
it down a little bit there, Buckaroo.
Or like I'll insult them back. And that gains,
they love that.
That gains so much respect if I just play along.
Fire back.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm, you know, I don't know. Some people will see that as like, oh, you're allowing them that behavior. But it's like, no, they actually change their behavior if I step up to the plate, you know? So, but other than that, like everyone's been so kind.
It's great.
Like I have not once felt disrespected as a woman in this industry, even from people outside of night. Like just, I feel like I've been given so much respect, and it's really not, I've heard so many horror stories. So many women were like, be careful. You know, you're going to hate it. You're going to be disrespected, you know.
It goes back to the mindset.
Yeah, and you actually hear from a lot of female drivers that they have very similar experiences to yours.
Yeah.
And it's not the case. It's almost the misconception that probably originated from the early days of trucking, where you just don't see it as much now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I talk to women who are like 60 years old, they're like, yeah, I got into it when I was 20. I'm like, you got into this way back then? And like, people are scared now.
Yeah.
You know, like, crazy. Can you imagine the women who pioneered trucking? Oh my gosh. So much respect.
Cool.
Yes.
Cool to meet them.
But yeah, I've maybe felt unsafe once, and that was just because I was in a really sketchy area. In the
but it wasn't
South.
necessarily the truck drivers that were sketchy.
Yeah.
It was
I mean,
I've
heard dudes say that. So like,
and that's the thing. That's something that I want to say. I feel like the trucking industry, everyone acts as a family. Like people said truck stops were scary, but it's like you're parking right next to another truck driver who's just there to do his job. Yep. And not only that, like if you honk your air horn, if somebody is like trying to break into your truck, the guy next to you is gonna
wake up.
Thank you for watching that clip. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more clips like that, please click here.
Or if you'd like to check out a full episode, click here.
And don't forget to subscribe to us on
YouTube.